Good morning, guys. Today we're gonna be presenting to you Renaissance drama and some of the Renaissance dramatists from this type, from this era. Renaissance drama, it's believed by many literary people that it originated in the religious ceremonies that occur before the Easter Eve celebration. It was during the time of the church, yes, because you remember that the church was like the one in charge of all of the ceremonies, public acts, or for the king to be in a play or to receive a play or to be participant of a play was banned. So in this time, during the Renaissance time, it originated like that. Those ceremonies or those first interactions of the place, it was like three women that came out on stage, and then they will present to the people. It is time now for light. Forget about the darkness, because remember that Easter Eve, before Easter Eve, it's all darkness, and after Easter, well, it's all light and it's all life. Uh, as I was telling you, this is only for the church ceremonies. It was specifically organized. It was specifically put on stage, and it was if it was paid at some moment, it was paid by the church, or it was sponsored by the church. Yes, that's the more correct term. Later on, people decided that they wanted to embrace this type of acts, and they wanted to reenact not only plays from the church. Remember that the church only wanted to evangelize, or only wanted to catechize their people by giving religious instruction, and by giving religious instruction about the history of the church, about the history of the creation, about the history of how Satan came into the world, of how the Old Testament, the Israelites, and all of the things that happened up to the time of Christ, and people in good morality. But then the people said, well, uh, the church can organize it themselves. Yes, they can organize a place for whatever they want, for whatever teaching they want to do. But we want to probably also help these people that are doing the different acts. And then they embrace, like I was telling you, they embrace this type of place, and they wanted to have more than morality into their stories. Now they wanted to have probably a little bit of comedy. That's why here on the mind map, comedy, it's on the right upper side, and it's probably smaller, tiny, because comedy was barely introduced. Yes, it was barely introduced. It wasn't like a main idea, or it wasn't like a main point up to that time. After that, people wanted to, and it was like a small. During this time, during the 1500s, the early 1500s, new types of uh, plays were introduced. These plays were called interludes. Remember that before, it was morality only, it was magical only, and one of them, and it's a very good example that I really like, it's called Everyman. Everyman narrates the story of a man that it's at the end of his life, and then he goes through everything that he possesses, all the friends that he has, just to discover that none of that matters for God or for his salvation. Only the good deeds and everything that he must have done during his time on earth was important for his salvation. And every man showed us that. But in the interludes, not only morality, also ludicrous themes were touched, or also more rowdy themes were also touched. For example, we will have here one writer, John Haywood. John Haywood was a particular writer that was really liked by Queen Mary. John Haywood has four, two main important plays. Those plays are what was it? The play of the weather. Just simple as that. The play of the weather. Another play that he has. It's the play. It's called Four Piece.
Well, now we're going to talk about the Renaissance dramatist. The humanistic influence was first in comedy. The first play that is inspired, the first plays were inspired by the Roman playwrights Plautus and Terence. And the first one of that kind was called Ralph Royster Doyster by Nicholas Udall. That is a play that this schoolmaster wrote for his students. And then 20 years later, we have another play called Gorboduc that is about a king. That play was inspired not by Terence and Plautus, but by Seneca. Seneca wrote a lot of like 10 or 9 plays. Well, some say 8, others say 9, and others say 10 plays. But some plays that are about a lot of events that involve a lot of violence, cruelty, and a lot of blood. And Gorboduc is inspired by that play. Then, before the 1519, most of the plays were inspired by historical events. Then the English writers moved to take a lot of another kind of view to see the to write the plays. So then we have what we call we have the main exponents of the dramatists. That the dramatists were can be divided into groups. The first group were the ones that receive a university education, and the second group is where the people that learn um, to write plays in the theater. So Christopher Marlowe belongs to the first group. Christopher Marlowe was the the great enemy of William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare belongs to the second group. And in the first group, there is also another writer that is called John Dee, and he wrote a play that were a novelty because he wrote those plays in prose. And then because of a lot of the things that he used to write that play or his plays, he created something that was considered high comedy and not only like comedy. Then we have another writer that belongs to the second group, just as Shakespeare. That other author is called Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson also learned to write plays in the theater itself. They were humanists, but they didn't receive a education. Thomas Kite was the author of a lot of popular plays. His most popular play was called The Spanish Tragedy, and it is about a man that becomes frantic and ferocious after he comes upon his dead son. That was because people from England thought that people in Spain or in Italy were like beasts and that they were really violent and that every time, every day they were committing horrible crimes. So that's why he called that play the Spanish tragedy.
Perfect. So I'm Angel. I'm going to present the second part of it. After the 1600, they were like showing up or boarding some new writers and players, from which the first part we're going to be talking about tragedy. And we're going to be talking about John Webster, who wrote two plays. The names are White Devil and Duchess of Malfi. These plays are related to a story of women who were treated bad or who had a bad experience um, by the genre that is men. In this case, brothers, husbands, and lovers. And there is also another writer for tragedy, which is Cyril Turner, which is the second image we see on the upper side of the mammoth, uh, which is upper the word John leading. He is Cyril, and he was the author for Revenger's Tragedy and the Ansia's Tragedy. So from those two is the genre that Jocelyn just said. There is the Sicanian revenge tradition in which is bloody thirst, bloody thirsty like play that the English people were more identified with. Going on with comedy, we have the author, which is John Marston. He wrote The Malcontent. Comedy in those times, or it was starting to become more like popular, happy ending thing after tragedy. And from John Marston, that he wrote The Malcontent, he had another person who inspired one person who is Thomas Milton, which is the person over the malcontent image. And he rewrote the play and he named it A Trick to Catch the old one. That one is actually considered one of the most popular comedies of the times. We're going to make a little pause to mention an honorable mention, which is going to be Shakespeare. I'm not going to be mentioning Shakespeare because he is in another level than the regular or general writers that I'm not saying that are not good, are really good, but Shakespeare is in another level. So we also are going to be talking about another writer, um, which is Philip Messenger. He also made some changes on the Middletown play from Thomas. And that is also one of the most popular comedies in the history of theater. Then we move on to the romantic plays. Shakespeare is well known. Not talking about Shakespeare, we have another author called John Fletcher. John Fletcher is one of the last image. He actually, oh no, I'm sorry, that is not John. However, John did wrote some really good plays. He wrote one play that it was about some criticizing to the court. I'm sorry. Um, let's see. Okay, John Fletcher was actually the inventor for the new genre called tragicomedy. With this play, we actually have one play that is called The Faithful Shepherds. This was the beginning for a new genre. After that, we have in 1642 that the parliament that was under the control of people who didn't like plays, acting, and considered that it was not good or it was wicked, and they shut down the theaters. So this will be the end for the golden years of English drama, but it's not end yet because after that we have James Shirley, who managed to continue with this drama and theater tradition. So after that, King Charles II was the one who reopened this tradition for theater and drama. And we have another um, two people who actually contributed to the new tradition, which will be still comedy, but in this case will be a comedy that laughs for the upper classes. And this will be the end for this topic.